You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. A Saturday in Tiger Stadium, LSU beat Southern 65-17. The final score was really elementary. It just kind of didn't matter. We all knew the outcome was going to be what it was. It was a pick-your-score. LSU led 28-0 midway through the first quarter. They scored 37 in the first quarter, 51 in the first half. It just wasn't a competitive football game. So for LSU, what you wanted to see was LSU correct a lot of the correctable mistakes from the Florida State game. And I think by and large, we saw that. So, of the most notable things that we saw, offensive line issues, special teams issues, some of those things that were fixable regardless of your opponent were fixed. So we'll delve into all of that. If there's one thing, though, that I would tell you more than any other that stands out coming out of that game, it's the fact that there is no quarterback controversy. If at any point you thought there might be a quarterback controversy or this conversation, the two-quarterback system going on, that died. That conversation, that debate died Saturday in Tiger Stadium. Jaden Daniels was 10 of 11. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He ran for another score. Garrett Nussmeier was kind of a mess. He threw 2 interceptions, including a pick 6, and probably could have thrown 4 interceptions in the ball game. Probably should have thrown 4 interceptions in the ball game. And that really was the one big thing that was the differentiator that we talked about for months and months and months and months, is the fact that Jaden Daniels had all this experience coming in. The coaches had Brennan and Nussmeier and Howard here, made the decision to go get another player, and now you're seeing the illustration as to why. And I don't mean for this to be about Garrett, because I think he's going to be a very good college football player. He just isn't right now. And that's okay. It's not to say you can't improve, but so many of the people that were very gung-ho on Garrett Nussmeier were doing so based on nothing other than hype or potential. We saw Garrett Nussmeier play extensively one time last year. They scored 13 points in an overtime game at home against Arkansas. It just wasn't very good. So that's over. There is no need to have that conversation any longer. Jaden Daniels is your starter. He's led 8 straight scoring drives, and right now is very clearly the most efficient player that you have on your offense. He's actually leading the SEC in efficiency among quarterbacks right now, and he's top 5 in the country. He's the guy that's going to run your offense. We don't need to have that conversation anymore. That's done. The game itself went really well for LSU from jump. I mean, opening kickoff, boom, forced fumble. It was Xavier Carter who forced it, and right from jump, LSU special teams making an impact. First play of the game, they roll Daniels to the right, and they throw it to Kayshon Boutte in the right flat. So immediately they got Kayshon involved. I love to see not only getting him involved, but the creative ways they got him involved. The throw on the roll to the right, they brought him across the formation and did the shovel pass to him as he was coming across on the jet motion. They ran an end around to start the third drive, which went for 42 yards. So every way that they could creatively get the ball to Kayshon, they did. They got him involved. He was clearly very engaged in the game, and it helped that the offense got going. It is bizarre that LSU scored 9 touchdowns in the ball game, and none of them went to Kayshon Boutte, but he will get his, as I think we all know and suspect that he will. When you look at some other takeaways from the game, yes, quarterback has to be top of the list among them. That conversation is just no more. But we also wanted to see special teams get cleaned up. We wanted to see fixing the things that went so wrong against Florida State, and we saw a lot of that as well. You didn't have a punt or a field goal, a PAT blocked in the game. That's as elementary as it sounds. That's important. You had 2 of them, in one game. Jack Mashburn went to the left wing and replaced Mason Taylor, who was there against Florida State. So that feels like such an obvious decision that should have been made initially, to put the more veteran guy on the field who's kind of more of a blocker than the more natural pass catcher, but they fixed it. They got it right. Gregory Clayton returned punts. You might recall back in June, Gregory Clayton was a guest on AFR after he transferred into LSU. He sat in studio right here next to me, and we chatted about his whole journey. He's related to Jarvis Landry, prepped at Lutcher, went JUCO, then UTSA, had a relationship with Frank Wilson. Ultimately, they were aware of him, got him here to campus. He's a receiver caught in a logjam. He's walked on right now, but Brian Kelly mentioned on Monday that Clayton could be a guy who's in line for a scholarship down the line. But he did the thing that Malik Neighbors couldn't, and let's catch the punts. So even had an 18-yard return on his first punt. So special teams cleaned up. Jay Bramblett, who had a shankopotamus against Florida State, he had a couple of punts in the ball game, averaged almost 44 yards a punt. So that was really nice to see. You made all of your PATs in the ball game. Damian Ramos did. And they even got the Trey Finnison, the Northwestern transfer in, who hit the last kickoff of the game. So you got a lot of those guys' action as well throughout the ball game. The changes on the offensive line, we saw Garrett Dellinger go to left guard, Charles Turner start at center, Miles Frazier start at right tackle. So that's not exactly the offensive line that we saw throughout the majority of fall camp. But it's a line that seemed to be more effective in spots. Here's what I mean. Charles Turner is a more natural center, obviously, than Garrett Dellinger. But even still, you had two different false start penalties because you had a snap infraction where Charles Turner didn't snap the ball and guys moved. That's one of the benefits of reps throughout camp. And I know we harped on this a lot throughout camp with the center battle was new quarterback, new center. You need that timing of the snap, the cadence, because everybody's cadence is different. And then centers are going to snap it differently. They're going to hear it differently. And then timing, handing off, and receivers, and all that stuff. Familiarity with the guy playing next to you. All that mattered, and they missed so many reps throughout camp, so many opportunities for reps throughout camp because they were trying to figure out who was going to be where. Well, now if you've seen solidified there with Charles Turner at center, Miles Frazier is certainly a better tackle than he is a guard. I like him at right tackle. Will Campbell at left tackle makes a lot of sense. And if you like Dellinger better at guard than center, you'll roll with that. And Bradford's your right guard. So you seem to have your starting five, at least the starting five that you're going to go with this week. Brian Kelly did mention on Monday he loved the way Emory Jones played. I tend to agree. Everyone watching on TV got to see the spotlight, pancake block. He had 20 yards downfield near the right front pylon. That's the type of physicality Emory Jones brings, and I love it. My hesitation, we talked about it last week, my hesitation, though, if you're playing EJ, you'd have EJ and Will Campbell. You'd have two true freshmen on your offensive line. Massively talented young guys who are going to be great players, but you just get much younger on that line. Are you willing to let those guys grow up throughout this season? That's a question Brian Kelly, Brad Davis are going to have to answer as this season goes along. But you get John Emery back this week. That should cure some of your rushing woes. Armani Goodwin had 12 for 85 against Southern. He did have the beautiful run, the 38-yarder around left end where he stiff-armed a guy straight into the ground, which was gorgeous to see. Noah Kane had 10 for 51. He had some short yardage success around the goal line where Williams scored a touchdown on a short run. So all in all, it's hard to find fault with much of anything except the turnovers, and even still, B.J. Ojolari didn't dress. You had Ali Gay, who missed the first half due to targeting, so you got to see a lot of young guys get out there. Desmond Little lived up to the hype. He impacted consecutive drives where on the Baskerville pick six, it was Desmond Little who tipped the ball, Baskerville interception, pick six. On the next drive, you had a 3rd and 3. Little, who wears number 8, forced the fumble. So those young guys got their opportunity. Savion Jones started in place of Ali Gay, and I thought played really well also. So, and look, Harold Perkins led your team in tackles with 7, getting the opportunity to play a ton, out there with some of the depth issues at linebacker, some of those guys missing. My other one big takeaway is Micah Baskerville. Micah Baskerville has got to be on the field. And Baskerville told reporters after the game that he was initially going to be suspended for 2 games. They appealed 1. They found that out the Thursday before the Florida State game, which is why he was out there. But that does go to explain why Baskerville was running 3rd team throughout much of camp. They were trying to keep him engaged, get him reps, but they weren't thinking they were going to have him the first 2 weeks, and ultimately they did. Micah Baskerville's got to be on the field. I don't care what type of practice player he is or what you think he is, if he's not physical enough or whatever for what they're looking at. The bottom line is with Micah Baskerville, he is a smart football player, and every time he's on the field, he makes plays. He made 85 tackles a year ago. He's a veteran who came back to help lead this team back. He is not afraid to stick his nose in and make tackles at the point of attack, and he is athletic enough to turn and run with running backs and tight ends. He can defend the pass. In this week in particular, with Mississippi State coming in, Micah Baskerville is the prototype. He is the prototype linebacker you want against Mississippi State. So you got to see, you just have got to have Micah Baskerville on the field a ton this week with Mississippi State coming in. So hard to find fault with much coming out of a 65-17 win. Tigers executed really well. It was nice to see. We could certainly have the conversation if you would have preferred to see that game before they played Florida State. Obviously, there's reason to believe that would have helped. But it's spilled milk at this point. Onward, LSU brings in Mississippi State. A game that, the spread, the opening line was LSU by a field goal. It's moved all the way the other way at this point now, where State's a 2.5-point favorite. So you've had a lot of action already on that game, and it looks like LSU might go into their SEC opener, a slight home underdog to Mississippi State, but we got a long way to go until Saturday. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.